Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Cold Hard Truth Podcast. I'm Anish Gupta, and today we are doing another episode of the QB Whisperer series. I believe this is episode 5, so we've done Josh Allen, Kyler Murray, Joe Burrow, and Ryan Tannehill. And now we're doing a fifth guy, a division rival, so obviously I got a little bit of animosity towards him. But we're doing Lamar Jackson. And obviously, I waited a little bit to do it after his game against the Cowboys, which they obviously won. So now they're 7-5. But again, this whole series, it's been really fun to do. So and it's gotten some good support on it. So thank you guys for that. And like I said in the beginning, of every episode, we always do context. What they did in college, obviously what they've done prior to this year, what they're doing this year, their strengths, weaknesses, and are they a franchise guy? So let's get right into it with Lamar Jackson. Obviously, comes out of Louisville. He wins the Heisman in 2016, which I believe his junior year or his second year in college, excuse me. And he had a 56.2 completion percentage. He had 3,500 yards through the air. He had 30 touchdowns, 9 picks. But the rushing, this dude had 1,570 yards and 21 touchdowns, 21 rushing touchdowns. For those who didn't know that, that is quite absurd. And he finished third in MVP the following year, third in Heisman the following year. And his scouting profile was, he had good field vision. He was a rare type of athlete, right? That's, I think, why, he was projected to go for a second round. But I think the problem was, at least, for some scouts, was his level of competition, obviously, in the ACC, aside from, Clemson. Conference really isn't that good. And also, he really didn't show that he could fit the ball into tight windows. There wasn't enough of that. And again, his best season, his best completion percentage was 56. So that is a little bit concerning, especially in college, right? So, obviously Baltimore trades up with the Eagles and takes Lamar at the 32nd with the 32nd pick. And, I don't know about you guys, but, for the real NFL fans, we've all heard it. There were some people that really thought this guy should have tried to go for the draft as a receiver. We heard it from some experts. And I'm pretty sure Lamar Jackson has proved them wrong. But yeah, let's go into his first year. He was named the starter in week 11. So let's give some context. The Ravens were 4-5 at the time. Flacco basically led the 23rd best offense. I believe he had 18 touchdowns, 13 picks. So, it wasn't good. It wasn't that bad. But, they had some, losses that they really should have won. So, they decided to make a quarterback change. Obviously, Flacco's injury helped a little bit with that. And his first year, Lamar Jackson goes 6-1. Now, again, I think, for those who have watched this podcast, I think you guys know that my framework goes, it's not about how you start, it's how you finish. And he finished the year, the Ravens finished the year 6-1. And that kind of won me over a little bit. He had 1,200 yards, 6 touchdowns, 3 picks. But again, the rushing, 695 yards in 7 games. That's 100 a game, not to mention the 5 touchdowns. But let's go to the playoffs. It was a terrible start. Like, it was terrible. I really thought I was a believer in the Ravens and the Colts that year. I really thought the Ravens could have made a deep push, but it really didn't turn out that way because of the terrible start. But in the fourth quarter, right, he outscores the Chargers, I believe, 14-3 in the fourth quarter. He played pretty well. And there was a play on 2nd and 10 with around 3 minutes left, and he just rolls out to his right. He buys a lot of time, and he just floats it up to Dixon, the running back, and he got a huge gain. And that play was just, it gave me a spark. It gave me something. I'm always looking for something with these quarterbacks that can carry over into next year. And I'm always looking for that one play that shows me, okay, this, they can build off of this. This is something that shows their talent or, maybe an intangible quality. And, that play really showed me, hey, his athleticism really can take him places. And I think that kind of, helped me look forward into the following year. So that kind of showed some promise. Now his second year, obviously. The MVP, the unanimous MVP, the second one to ever do it. 36 passing touchdowns, led the league. It was a 9.0 touchdown percentage. That is insane. Only 6 picks, and people really don't understand how good that is. 36 touchdowns and 6 interceptions for a guy who was, deemed a running back. That is very good. And obviously, he had 7 touchdowns on the ground, 1,200 rushing yards for a quarterback. That's insane. I believe that is a record. Past Michael Vick, did literally with few games left to go in the year too. And it was just, to sum it up in a word, it was electric. He took the league by storm, and he took this team to 12 straight wins to finish out the regular season. The last time they had lost was September 29th against my Cleveland Browns. And it was honestly a fluke kind of game. But, again, 12 straight wins, but we all know what happened. And surprisingly, I called it, Titans would win that game. he just couldn't play from behind. And, he wasn't able to solely rely on his arm, though he did rush for, I believe, for 18 times for 116 yards that game. He couldn't rely on his arm to win. I mean, there were plays, where he would have to pass on multiple down straight, and he just couldn't do it. And he took some sacks that he shouldn't have. And I think the main takeaway is, and I'll, go over it with the weaknesses too. He showed that he's a running quarterback, not a QB that runs. And I'll define that a little bit more. But again, like I said with Kyler in the other episode, Kyler is a quarterback that can run. He doesn't rely on it. Lamar Jackson showed that he relies on it. So let's go into the year that he's having now. 7-5, right? They're still in the playoff hunt. Many believe he'll get in. I don't know. I can't say right now. I don't want to say anything with this whole playoff race, especially with my team. You know what the Browns do. I mean, like, this is anomalous. So I don't want to say anything. But, as of right now, he's got 17 touchdowns through the air, 7 picks. He's got 6 fumbles. That's a little bit noticeable. 3 were in one game, albeit, but still 6 fumbles compared to 1 last year. A little bit concerning. But, he's still averaging, I believe, 5 yards a carry through the ground. So, nothing to worry about there. And, I'm going to give him a little bit of a pass because I think people hate on him too much. He'll make a mistake or he'll lose a game and people start, freaking out, going crazy. Oh, my God, Lamar Jackson can't do this, can't do that. He's very young. He's younger than Joe Burrow. I mean, he's going to make mistakes and he's got a lot of time to fix it. But again, his receivers really can't get separation. Mark Andrews has also been banged up throughout the year. And right, like I said, he just relies a little bit too much on his legs. But, again, 7-5, but who has he really beaten? And I think, the thing that people always point to is the fact that he's technically 0-6 in big games and 24-1 in other games. Now I think he's lost a couple with the Pats being one of them. So, and the Titans. So 24-2 essentially, or 24-3. But, the 6 big games that Lamar Jackson has played in, there are 2 playoff games, obviously the Chargers and the Titans. There was the 3 games to Kansas City, which he lost all 3, and then the 1 to Pittsburgh with Big Ben, where he had 4 turnovers in that game. So, again, for basically 2.5 years, that's basically how much he's played. It's safe to say he's definitely exceeded expectations. Now, there are a lot of people who have finally kind of seen the light with me and moved Josh Allen above him. So I think Josh Allen is the best quarterback in this class. But, if people were to say it was Lamar Jackson, they can still make an argument for it. I will give him that argument. I will. But, let's kind of move on to his strengths. Now, Lamar Jackson brings an extra dynamic to an offense, right? So, for example, with the read option, he adds another level in the sense that the defender has to choose to go for the A or the B gap. And it allows the Ravens to have an extra blocker with a running quarterback. And the reason that is because they now can use a tight end in motion as a lead blocker. So they run a lot of these sets where, they'll do a full house with 2 fullbacks or 2, maybe a tight end and a fullback. And they'll also have, for example, like Nick Boyle will run to the right and just, plow the way for, Gus Edwards to run up the middle. It just works because that way you get 6 essential blockers all going in the same direction, while Lamar kind of creates that, decoy type of sense, and it just throws defenders a little bit off guard because you have to respect the run with him. You have to. And there's another one. He's actually surprisingly really good in zone coverage. He beats a lot of cover 3, especially, safeties dropping back. I think he works best when safeties drop back. It just, again, because it creates a mismatch offensively where if you're not stacking the box, it's more even for him, and Lamar Jackson can take the underneath throws, or again, it allows him to get more space to run out. Because if Lamar Jackson is running more than 10 yards downfield, that now allows him to shake the secondary versus a 300-pound defensive end or a bigger linebacker. It's a lot easier, I think, for Lamar Jackson to do it with a corner or safety. So I think he plays really well when safeties play back. So these cover 3, cover 4 type zones, it just works well for him. And the reason why is because he stands tall in the pocket and he creates space to throw. So there was a play against the Chargers, not the one to Dixon, but there was another one. I believe it was a touchdown to Crabtree. He rolls out to the right. I think it was also a cover 3 zone on that one. And he rolls out to the right and he's able to buy time so Crabtree can essentially beat the zone, and he finds time and throws it to him in the end zone. Now, let's move on to the weaknesses. I think those are most of his strengths. We all know he can run. That's kind of an obvious one, but I wanted to focus on his passing. Because I mean, again, Lamar Jackson is electric. Like, I mean, the spin move against the Bengals. Come on now, like that. I don't think anyone else can do that in this league as of right now. Obviously, maybe Michael Vick, but let's move on to the weaknesses for him. Obviously, it's mostly in the passing game. He'll bail early at times, meaning he'll bail on the play. And again, I've said it consistently, and everyone says it, but he relies on his legs, which kind of, it'll lead to like big sacks, like 10, 11-yard sacks. I think that kind of is what I mean by bailing early on a play, right? As a running quarterback, you're going to use your legs. You're going to try and rely on them. And it works sometimes, but it also hurts. And right, and that also kind of shows that he's relying on his talent. So it'll lead to bad reads. So for example, the Pittsburgh game this year, he on the pick six with Robert Spillane, he fails to really use his eyes. He's just trusting that he's able to get the throw. So he's looking one way to the left, and then he knows that there's a guy open there, but he throws it too late because he doesn't look. It was really a bad throw, and then Spillane it's an easy pickoff and takes it to the crib. And I think he can utilize play action better. So he had this thing also coming out of college. He has a wrist flick with his throw, so that sometimes he'll sail footballs like over his receivers, and we've seen it plenty of times in the red zone. He'll just sail them over. But there's another one, the second pick, or might have, I think it was the second interception of the game. There was a play action pass, and you would expect a mobile quarterback like Lamar Jackson to essentially buy more time, right? I mean, we've seen guys like Baker and Jared Goff do really well off play action, but with Lamar Jackson, I think there's a little bit of an iffiness to it because he's trying to run rather than wait for receivers to develop. But on this play specifically, it was a passing play. This play is supposed to beat play action because it is a double bootleg. There's one in the flat, and I think there's one going downfield. So he knows that Andrews is beating his guy. I think it was also Spillane on this play, if I'm not mistaken. But Andrews is going to his left, and if I'm Lamar Jackson, I don't sail it, but I float it to the sideline. But the problem is he didn't anticipate the disguise coverage. I believe it was number 56 who was guarding the fullback. He doesn't anticipate that he's going to drop back. But the problem is in a zone coverage like that, you're going to drop back. You're going to read the eyes of the quarterback. And if he sees that Lamar Jackson is going to throw a little bit further, which he can get to because there are two players there, it's an easy pick for him. And he just didn't anticipate that, and that was a bad throw. So I think those are his weaknesses, right? I mean, there's not much with him. It's just there's these some boneheaded plays that he makes, and I think that's what kind of gets him a little bit in trouble in these key games. But he's not that type. He doesn't make that many mistakes. I think people fail to realize that. He really he doesn't turn the ball over that much. There will be some games where he'll have some, but he really doesn't. And these are the kind of weaknesses that I see, but these are all fixable. So when that kind of brings me to this question of, is he a franchise quarterback? Now, I actually really flip back and forth on this because I think he deserves to get his money. We've seen guys like Carson Wentz get it, just for their play in the regular season and, his spectacular 2017 year. So I think he should get his money. Now, the whole franchise quarterback title for me is, can you get them, can they really win a Super Bowl with you being the starter? I think that's kind of the end goal. We haven't seen him do it in the playoffs yet, but again, I'm still going to trust, guys like Jack who say he's young, he'll get there. I will trust it. I think, there's no thing where it's like, oh, he's cursed for his career for the playoffs. Like that's not a thing. But after seeing two playoff games, okay, fine. We can be concerned. And I think I was concerned going into that Titans game, and it just added to it. But there's a lot of potential with him. And, this Ravens team is getting healthier. Let's see what they can do down the stretch. And he's also box office, guys. I mean, there are some sensational plays that he makes. Again, that play against the Bengals probably generated thousands of replays on Instagram and Twitter and TikTok with all, I'm sure on the NFL page with that spectacular play. I mean, it was amazing. So, he is box office, and he's just got a breakthrough. He's just got a breakthrough in the playoffs. It's a different game. And, I think I've been trying to tell people that it slows down. Can he adapt to the game slowing down? Can he play from behind? Can he, fix those boneheaded mistakes? Maybe just decrease it. There will always be those times where a quarterback will do it, but it's, can you bounce back? It's, can you make that extra play? And can you make it with your arm? Because again, uh, he's not a quarterback that runs. He's a running quarterback. Now that can be good, but it also can be bad. And in the playoffs, I think I would rather have a quarterback beat teams with his arm because that's what's been working. So let's see what he can do there. I'm going to give him the nod of a franchise quarterback for now. Okay. But, out of the five guys that I've done it on, he's actually the one with the biggest questions. And you would be surprised because there are guys like, that I've done like Kyler and Joe Burrow, but, he's the one with the most questions because we've seen the downside to him. But I think that's kind of my wrap up on Lamar Jackson. Let me know what you guys think. Was there any plays that I missed that you guys would have liked to see? Were there any, strengths that I missed? Any weaknesses that I missed? Should I have talked about his running more? Let me know what you guys think. Can Lamar Jackson lead this team to the playoffs? I mean, who knows, right? It's going to be really tough. There's obviously a big game coming up on Monday that I'm going to watch. But yeah, let me know what you guys think in the comments. Road to 500 subs is on the way. Road to 500 on Instagram is also there. So our links for social media will be down below. Thank you guys so much for watching, and we will see you next time.